really like Aaron's brain. Like, he just speaks the way I need to hear it. I really love his delivery style. He is wicked smart. He's also very, very successful with that knowledge that he put to use, right? Personally sold over 2,000 transactions to date. He's the coach to some of the biggest top producers in United States and Canada in real estate. Built a downliner organization at EXP with hundreds of agents. I did have to switch my spot because he did get invited to go on a yacht with Grant Cardone.
I got invited to be on the Grant Cardone celebrity cruise that was in the Bahamas.
So he's like, go, I have to go. I'm like, okay, I'll switch my day with you so we can still have you. I think you do an amazing job, Aaron, at the whole life and soul searching and mindset thing. So at this moment, I will shut up and give you the floor.
All right, awesome. Well, I appreciate you doing so. So I want to ask you guys a question, and I want you guys to drop in the chat your answer. There's no golden star here, so whatever you say is just fine. Which year do you think was a better year to sell real estate? Was it 2024, the year that we're concluding? Or was it 2008, during the great financial kind of collapse where 50% of everything on the market was a short sale or foreclosure, prices are going down 20, 30%? Drop in the chat, which year do you think was a better year to sell real estate? Whatever you say is just fine. 2024, 2008, 2022, 2008, 2024. So this is awesome, right? So we have a mixture, yes, of what we believe to be a better year to sell real estate. Well, statistically, we are on track to do less transactions in 2024 than we did in 2008. So the fact is, Narmeen, hopefully I'm saying that right, is that we are in a real estate transaction recession. Yeah. If you made it through this year, give yourself some claps because you made it through the toughest time to sell real estate in 15 years. Why is that something to like reflect on? Because, I have the good fortune of speaking to agents across the country. 12 of the one-on-one coaching clients I coach do over $1 million in GCI. And there's two camps. One camp, which is a very small camp, are having a very strong year. The vast majority of everybody else is in a season of disappointment. Yeah, notice the energy in the room? This is going to be like super motivating. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about a season of disappointment is that it's very instructive and helpful. And here's why. So whether somebody has faith or not, I think it's very interesting. There's some really good stories, right, that we can learn from. And what you find is that in the Bible, there's a lot of people that are chosen or appointed or anointed in some way. There's usually an anointing and there's an appointing, but in the middle, there's a season of disappointment. That's interesting. Why does that pattern persist, Lisa? Why is somebody anointed to do something and then they go through years of disappointment before they actually get to the appointment? A good example of this is Joseph. So Joseph is his father's favorite. Anybody have any siblings besides me? Yeah. If one of your siblings is the favorite, does that irk you a little bit? Look at all the ones. Yeah, man. Right? 100%. So his siblings felt the same way, yes? A little irked by the fact that his dad liked him the most. Yeah. So you know what they came up with? This brilliant idea, Sherry. They were out working one day and they said, you know what? We're just going to put him in a ditch and leave him to die because we're tired of him getting all of the praise. Yes? So they do that. And then you know what they do, Christy? They're like, well, you know what? We could actually get some money for this guy. So why are we going to let him die? Let's just sell him into bondage. And they do that and they sell him into bondage. Well, here's what's interesting about Joseph. He's diligent. He's also really smart. So while he's in bondage, he actually rises to be like the top and he's like running stuff. He's also very handsome. So he's smart and handsome. So you know what happens? The queen wants a piece. She makes a pass at him. He's a righteous man. So Chris, he says, no, thank you. The queen is prideful. Feelings are hurt. So you know what she does? She says that he tried to take advantage of her. King gets wind of this, and where does Joseph end up? In jail. For something he did not do. Yes? Now, what ends up happening is He's also, again, diligent. He's smart. He ends up running the whole jail. Yeah. And there's somebody that he makes friends with in jail, and he gets out, and he's like, hey, remember me when you get out. Does he remember him? No. And he stays there. Yes? But then the king, years later, yes? Years later, he has a problem. He has this dream, and he can't interpret it. And he goes to all of his, people in his court. Can you interpret this? All of his wizards and his, people. And none of them can interpret it. But the guy remembers, oh, yeah, there was this guy, Joseph, and he can interpret dreams. King brings him in front of him. Joseph interprets his dream. And do you know what the king does? He takes off his ring, puts it on his hand, gives him his cloak, and says, go rule Egypt. So he went from being sold into slavery, being in jail for something he didn't do, to ruling. Yeah? So why is that applicable right now? Because in a season of disappointment, one of my seasons of disappointment came in 2007. So my first year selling real estate, I made a whopping $13,000, guys. Anybody know what that's like? Yeah. Will anybody put you on a panel, Tony, to talk about specifically how you did that? Will people pay you to coach them, Christy, and say, hey, how exactly did you make below the poverty line? How did you do that? The reason was I didn't have access to the right information. People were telling me to put my name tag on my shirt and go smile at people at the grocery store. Yeah. They would tell me to sit in open houses and wait for people to show up, Renee. They started telling me to farm, Tony. I'm like, I'm not in the agriculture business. What are we talking about here? Okay. So I didn't make any money. But then I did what I've done, and many of you have done in this call, is I got access to a guide. Somebody who could give me access to the truth, yes? Which is that this is a sales business. No different than selling books door to door, knives door to door, subscriptions over the phone. And they told me what I should be stacking time on top of. And then, miraculously, that next year, the first 3 months, I did 15 transactions on track to do 60 deals. That's better, yes? While I'm sitting in a room like this, I'm prospecting, making outbound calls. I get a phone call in April of 2007. Anybody besides me ever know something's wrong before you actually know it's wrong? Where do you feel that? I felt it in my stomach, yeah? Because I look down and it's my dad calling me. Now, it's not weird that my dad be calling me. It's weird that he'd be calling me at 8:30 in the morning because we don't normally talk at that time. So I did what I usually never do is I stopped prospecting and I picked up the phone. And the voice on the other end of the phone, guys, confirmed that feeling that I felt in my stomach. Because he was kind of hyperventilating. And what he was able to eke out was that my mom had just had a brain bleed. She was being rushed into emergency surgery, a craniectomy. And he's like, yeah, there's a 50-50 shot she's going to make it. So whatever you're doing right now, I suggest that you stop and come home right now. So what I did is within a week, I shut down my entire business in Gainesville, Florida, gave away all the listings, all the pendings, and I moved back home. Started over from scratch. And then do you know what happened? The 2008 financial collapse. Yeah! That's fantastic, right? Not really what I was expecting getting into this real estate thing, yes? Massive, kind of season of disappointment. So I had to start over from scratch, right? And my experience has been, guys, is that it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you that defines you. So what I want everybody on this call to realize is while at that time, you know what I would like to say happened, Chris? I was like, well, Lindsay, this is a season of disappointment. And I'm just going to go through this with grace. That is not what happened. I was pretty angry and mad. Yeah? Anybody besides me ever been angry and mad when you're going through a season of disappointment? Sherry's like, yep, hallelujah, amen. Yep. Okay. But now upon reflection, do you guys realize I would not be on this call with you without that season of disappointment? It turned me into somebody who could list 100 homes a year. Okay. A couple things happened. When I moved, I lived in a sleepy hollow town of Gainesville, Florida. Okay. Other than the university, it's cow pastures. There's nothing there. I moved to Miami, Sherry, and Fort Lauderdale, where there's full of sharks. Yes. I had to become razor sharp at skills. Yeah. It also caused me to master expired listings. I did 100 transactions one year, 75 were expireds. Yep. That gets some eyebrows moving, Christy. That's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. It also caused me to master price reductions. You know, I'm on coaching calls with agents these days and they're freak out because they have to ask for one price reduction because they've never had to do it before. Christy, I was having to get 10 price reductions a month just to move inventory. That means 20 price reduction conversations. Anybody besides me notice that a seller never says, well, you know what, Jennifer, you've been trying really hard. Let's just go ahead and lower the price by 50 grand. Is that what they say? No. They want to fight with you. You say, can you put it in the Wall Street Journal, Anna? What are you doing to market my house, right? All that. So imagine having 20 of those conversations per month, every month. Do you think you'd get really good at that? Yes. The next thing that happened is it caused me to get really good at systems, because what started to happen as the marketplace is retreating and everybody's telling themselves a story, which you guys just spoke to Renee and he talks about frames and filling gaps. Yes. So what was the frame everybody was telling themselves in 2008? This is terrible. Yeah. The frame I was telling myself is this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Everybody's scared. This is great. So check this out. When I moved, right, 2007, 17 deals. Next year, 50. Next year, 75. Next year, 89. Next year, 100. And remember, with this anointing, appointing in the season of disappointment, do you know why it exists? It exists because in the season of disappointment, you create the character. So that way, when you get to your appointment, you will never leave. You can stay there. I never did less than 100 transactions a year for 10 years after that. And I did 200 deals a year twice. So while I may be sitting here in this season of kind of disappointment, there's a frame that I can tell myself, yes? So one frame that I can tell myself is what? Drop in the chat what frame you could tell yourself about 2024. Election year. Yeah, that's good. It's time to launch. It was bad for everyone. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Liz. I just moved into the area. It's a stepping stone. Yeah. These are interesting. So that's one frame that you can tell yourself. You know what another frame is? Man, this is an opportunity for me to get faster, quicker, stronger, and more adaptable. What do I mean by adaptable? Well, money has an addictive quality, and because of it, we get addicted to the way that we receive it. What was working for Sherry in 2022 with a high degree of probability isn't working as well in 2024. But because I'm addicted to the way that I receive it, what do I keep doing? Going back to the same thing. And what ends up happening is I'm not adapting. Yes? Listen, you know what Darwin says? It's not the fastest, not the quickest, not the strongest, not the prettiest, not the ones who have the most followers on Instagram. It's the ones that are the most adaptable to change. We can begin with that frame. That's the frame that we're going to use going into 2025, because what I know in 2025 to be true with a high degree of probability, guys, is it's going to be about the same. Do you know the last time we saw a drop from this magnitude? So 7 million to like 3.8 million in volume. That's what's true. The last time there was that big of a drop. Do you know how long it took to get to the previous high, Anna? A decade. 10 years. Of about the same. My grandpa taught me something a long time ago. You know what he said to me? Hope is a beautiful word. It is a piss poor business strategy. Ask yourself a question. Jen, have you been hoping? Oh, I just hope rates come down. I hope it gets better. I hope something changes. Yeah. Yeah. Hoping, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful word. I love the word, but it's not a great business strategy. So the frame that we can use is I think you need an accurate assessment of reality in order to produce a good outcome. You have to see what's true, Alejandra. So in other words, what would happen if, let's say I said to everybody on this call, like, we're going to go out in negative 14-degree weather and we're going to go swimming and we're going to think positive thoughts. What's going to happen? We're going to die of hypothermia. That's what's going to happen. So some people, when I give them an accurate assessment of reality, you know what they say to me? They stand firmly like this and they go, well, you're just being negative. I'm like, bro, that's immature. I need to see what's true so then I can make decisions in accordance with what's true and get what I want. So with that, I want to give you some tactical information. So if we can expect that 2025, maybe we have 10% more transactions. Let's put this at like 4 million, which is not a huge bump. Okay. So it's about the same. So tactically, what do I need to be doing? How do I need to be adapting, Sherry? Not hoping, adapting. Well, let's think about this logically. If the amount of people that are transacting has dropped dramatically, can we all agree on that? Yes or yes? That means there's less what? Opportunities. Which means, therefore, if there is opportunities, there's more people chasing them, which means you're competing more. Yes? So wouldn't it logically make sense that I need to get razor sharp on what to say and how to say it? Let me ask everybody on this question by a show of hands. How many people role play every day? That's fascinating to me because everybody else seems to be independently wealthy. Isn't that going against what's true? Isn't that saying to myself, hey, I can go swim in a 14-degree weather and think happy thoughts and I'm going to not get hypothermia? 100%. I need to have razor sharp skills. You know what I realize, guys? I'm going to say something to you and I want everybody to really hear me, okay? The money's not in the service, it's in the selling of the service. The money's not in the service, it's in the selling of the service. I'll prove my point. Do we all have a license to perform the same services? Do we all make the same amount of money? Why not? Some people know how to sell the service better than others. Yes? So, Jen, it would logically make sense that I spend a lot of time learning how to sell the service if you want to make money. Yeah? You know, people telling me, like, I love houses. I'm like, that's disgusting. You know how many houses I've been in where I had to burn my suit because it was like a cat farm? Or they're like, I love people. I'm like, you have not dealt with enough people. When I realized that the money wasn't in the service, it was in the selling of the service. Remember, in that season of disappointment, I moved to Florida and Miami, and there's all these competitors. I started role playing twice a day, 6 days a week. I did that for 3 years in a row. Because I don't know if you guys realize this, there's no security in this business. There's only opportunities, Lindsay. And you know what I never wanted to say, Narmeen, to my wife, Carla? Hey, you know what? We can't send the kids to private school because they said to me, your commission's too high. And I didn't know what to say. I verbally vomited and I left and they listed with somebody else. Or they told me, Anna, I want to think about it. And I walked out and I'm like, well, they had a puppy and I had a puppy. I think we connected. And then Aaron went in and he listed the property. As Jim Rohn would say, these are called the facts. It's the way it is. Yeah. So if I am, what I would propose 2025 as a roadmap, make sure you are working on your skills every single day. There's less opportunities, more competition. You're competing more on listing presentations. Yes. People have more choices and options, do they not? So how can I be possibly hallucinating that I'm going to sell with personality? Everybody look at me very closely. You are not that cool. And you're also not that cute. Let's just go on that. Let's go on that assumption. Second thing is better tools. So let's think about this. Because what we do in this business doesn't change. How we do it and how much of it we do is what changes based on environments. Yeah? If we are in an environment where there's a lot less transactions, what does that mean for the amount of people that I'm going to have to speak to in order to find the people that are going to do something? Look at Renee. It's going to go up. Yes? So guess what, Allison? If you were making 10 contacts or not even calling anybody 2 years ago and making money and thinking you're hot stuff, that is not working today, team. If that's logical, I'm going to have to speak to more people, right? To find people. Because did you guys know that 90% of everybody who has a mortgage right now has an interest rate less than 6%? So that means I got to talk to way more people to find the people that are ready to do something. Do you know the amazing, intricate things we do, Jennifer, to avoid actually talking to people? It's fantastically amazing. Okay. It's called creative avoidance behavior. Yeah. I remember somebody well, you got to build a brand. I gave a talk at the Association of Hispanic Realtors, and this lady was like, oh, you got to build a brand. And I'm like, well, a couple things. She was like a model. And I wanted to raise my hand and say, hey, can I ask you a question? Yeah. How many people in this audience look like you? Oh, that's right. None. What's the probability that anybody's going to get a TV show like you? Oh, that's right. 0. So everything you're saying to people is not going to actually help them. Yes? So better tools. Do you know that the best tools out there make 7 to 8 contacts an hour? What if I told you that there were tools where you can make 30 to 40 contacts an hour? Is that a superior tool? 100%. Write this down. It's called the Enzo Dialer. I'll drop a link in the chat. Enzo Dialer. One of my coaching clients, his name is Angel Garcia. He built it. He did $14 million in wholesale in 2022. He built out a telemarketing team, and then he built software. This is the software. Makes 40 to 50 contacts an hour. I'm wondering, think about that. Let's do math on that, because this is always, it's just a numbers game, right? So if you're making 8 contacts an hour and you're talking to people for 3 hours a day, so let's say it's 20 contacts a day times 5, you're making 100 contacts. That's 400 contacts a month. Yes? If you're making 40 contacts an hour, Bridget, you can do in 1 week that it would normally take you a month to do. Is that superior? Yes. People are like, well, it costs a little bit of money. I'm like, it's going to cost you more money to sit on your hands. So a superior tool. I need better tools. And that would be one that I would propose and recommend. The next thing, niches. What do I mean by that? If 90% of everybody who owns a home has a mortgage or interest rate less than 6%, who's actually selling? Drop in the chat who's actually selling. Gogo says they have to. Yep. People have to move, like relocating for job, divorce. There you go. Now we're cooking. Oh, yeah. Now we're getting the ones I like. Okay. So I call these life events. Yeah. Aging out. Yep. Life events. Life events are things like death, divorce, job relocations, moving to assisted living facility. Yeah. Retirement. Those are the only people that are going to do it. Because you guys will shop on Amazon for 3 hours to save $100. Do you really think somebody's going to give up their 3% mortgage rate because Sherry calls them and has a lot of enthusiasm? The answer is no. Closing is a different skill than presenting. What do you think I mean by that? This is a room full of agents, right? You notice the energy in the room is like, oh, fuck, I've been doing that whole time, man. I'm doing this wrong. Shit. You know what closing is? You know the analogy I like to give? It's taking off all your clothes and being like, it's what it is. We doing this or not? There's a book. It says, knock and the door shall what? Open. Ask and you shall what? It requires you to do what? Ask. So it seems like we're in agreement with regards to strategy and approach, right? In terms of how to position the property. So do you have any other questions or concerns for me before we take care of the appropriate paperwork?
Yes. So because of the price, I'm listing lower than expected. I just met with an agent who said that he can list at 630 and get me. And he's also lowering his commission.
Okay, awesome. And I appreciate you, bringing those things up to me.
I'm concerned because the next property I'm buying, I'm really going to need to make as much money to.
Yeah, and I totally respect that. And I appreciate your straightforwardness, right? Like if we're going to enter into some sort of agreement with each other, it's got to be based on trust. And part of that trust is being able to have open conversations with one another. So I guess here's my question to you. Having looked at the information together as a team, because trust me, I would like it to be more as well. Knowing that those other two sold at 600-ish and they had modifications that we do not. I mean, honestly, how do you think it would serve you and benefit you to list it at 630 when you need to be out to Arizona in 120 days? Does that seem like a realistic expectation? No. Now, you do want an agent that's going to have the intestinal fortitude to earn your business with integrity, telling you the truth up front, don't you?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You know what the good news is? You found what you're looking for. So here's my question is, if we can come to an agreement in terms of the professional fee today, because I'm open to having a conversation, and I know we'll be able to work that out. Like I'm interested in win-win dynamics. I want us both to feel good about what we're doing. Otherwise, we won't do it. If we could agree on that today, would there be any other reason why we couldn't proceed right now?
No.
What's happening here? Most of you guys verbally vomit when she mentions commission. I'll do it for 4.
Yeah, you're still not talking numbers.
And I isolated both of the objections. One was price. And I leveled with you. I'm like, does that seem like a realistic expectation? No. You do want an agent that's like going to be honest with you, don't you? Yes. That other agent just is out. I just took like a fucking sniper gun. Done. Now, most of you guys jump into the commission. What's the problem with answering an objection right away? One might be right behind it. You haven't figured out I want it all to get on the table. Again, closings, this is what it is. We're doing this or not. So I want it all to get out. So what I did is I did what's called a set aside. So imagine like there's a boulder between me and you, like this impediment. So I'm like, if I grab this, I put it over here and I'm like, you see that thing over there? If we could deal with that over there, can we do this? And you're like, look, she's like, yes, we can do this, right? So we can do this. That's what I'm doing. I isolated the objection and I set it aside. And then you're like, yeah, I don't think so. Now I say to you, great, what were you thinking? Why do I say that to her? We're negotiating. And who do I want to speak first? Her. So you just have to have like the discipline to follow this process. It's like a checklist, like a pilot's checklist. You fuck it up, it'll get messed up. You'll verbally vomit, you'll tell her, and she'll be like, well, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to talk to the other agent, leave. And then you'll get in your car, you're like, I really think we connected. I think I'm going to get it, guys. And then I call you. Hey, I just want to give you a quick heads up, let you know she decided to list with us. We appreciate the opportunity, though, and be sure to bring us the first buyer if you got one. Bye-bye now. Right? So that's why, because we're negotiating. So I want you to tell first. So let's say she tells me like 5%. Cool. That's an option. Remember, that's an option. Somebody says 5%, you guys get indignant. Like, how dare you even ask? You guys will look on Amazon for 3 fucking hours to save $5 on a product. But you freak the fuck out when somebody asks you to lower 1 percentage point, which is $10,000. Everything that I just told you, the scripts, the dialogues, everything, there's a class online. It's $250. You guys are like, oh, it's too expensive. Look, the way you make decisions, if you can't make a decision when you have ample information over relatively small amounts of money, how do you imagine you can expect other people to make big decisions with you about big amounts of money? She's like, 5%. Yeah, that's an option. And you know, what's interesting for me is I never want to put you in a situation that actually wasn't beneficial to you as a homeowner. Can I explain to you what I mean?
Yes.
Who's that about, by the way? Who do you guys make it about?
You.
Me. Well, I got bills to pay. I got a new baby. I got diapers and shit, bro. Right? That's what happens. You go in your head. So instead, it's like, yeah, can I share with you? Like, I never want to put you in a situation that wasn't beneficial to you as a homeowner. Can I explain to you what I mean? And they're like, well, yeah. Well, it's like, you know, agents don't control people buy, but they definitely have influence over what they see. Let's say that there's like right now, I did some homework in preparation for our appointment, and there's 25 other properties here in Deerfield that are in your price point between 600 and 700,000. Did you know that? Yeah. And in the last 30 days, do you know how many of those sold? 8. So what that means is there was, 17 of them that are still there unsold. And we don't want to be in that position, do we? No. And let's say of those 25 that are available for sale, 20 of them are offering out what's customary in terms of a co-broke. So like 2.5%, maybe 3%. And the rest are offering out some sort of discount, right? 2%, 1%. So let's imagine that you're a full-time commission-based salesperson and you have an opportunity to show properties. Remember, agents don't control people buy, but they do have influence over what they see. Honestly, as an agent, which properties do you think you'd be more excited about showing and selling?
The ones with the full commission.
And why is that?
Because I'm going to take home more money.
That's exactly right. It's just human nature, isn't it? Yeah. So just by you saying that demonstrates that you're beginning to realize that the professional fee is a marketing tool that we use to help you to get top dollar. So the commission on our end to help you with the sale is 3%. Now, what we're just talking about is what we're going to offer out in terms of a co-broke to another agent. And we have a couple options at our disposal. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. Fair enough? Yeah. So the first option is we offer out something less than what's customary. So something less than like 2.5%, right? So maybe like 2%, 2.25%. And in doing so, we just need to know and understand it could end up affecting showings in some way, right? And I know you said you want to maximize value and do it quickly and efficiently. So that's something to consider. The second option is we offer out what's customary, maybe 2.5%, 3%. And in doing that, we dramatically widen the exposure, and that'll increase the probability we'll get you an offer in the time frame that you want and, net you the most. Either one's okay. Based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, what do you think we should do?
5%.
So wait. So what are we going to offer out as a co-broke? So it's 3% on the listing side. So what are we going to offer out as a co-broke?
2.5.
2.5, you're cool with that? Great, I'm cool with that too. Do you have any other questions before we take care of the appropriate paperwork?
Nope.
What if you bring the buyer?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So if we bring the buyer, what we can do is, I guess, what were you thinking? So the total is 5.5. So if we bring the buyer, like, what were you thinking? Because remember, we're going to be handling both sides of the transaction.
4.5?
I normally wouldn't do that. Like, I appreciate where you're coming from. And as a way for me to demonstrate that I'm equally committed to you as you are to me, we can go ahead and do that. Fair enough?
Fair. Thank you.
Why did I say, well, first of all, when I go like, if I would have said, yes, really quick, what does she think? Could ask for more.
Yeah.
I'm going to make her feel better by going, I normally wouldn't do that. Not only that, what's the probability that I'm going to bring the buyer? Fucking 0. You guys get all hung up on that. Was I hung up on that at all?
No.
So what did you notice about that? Yes. But what did you notice about that as I ran through that? What is your awareness?
You negotiated with her without her realizing that you were negotiating with her.
That's right. And who felt in control?
Yeah.
But who was really in control? These are not the drones you're looking for. Go ahead.
What if she said, okay, but could you lower your commission instead of me?
Yeah, and I appreciate you asking that. I really do. And what's interesting for me is that, part of the reason why you're hiring an agent is because of their skills in negotiating. Because they're going to be having conversations about your price without you present. Yeah, so the other agent, when they said that they would do it for less, how long were they in your house before they said that they would do that?
Oh, they knocked on my door and told me.
Oh, like right away? Wow, so like in 10 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So how are you going to feel knowing that you hired an agent based on their skills in negotiating, and they demonstrate right in front of you, Rose, their inability to protect the value of their own fee?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, most people don't. You see, 1% is only 1% out of 100%. 1% of 6% is 17%. Would you lower your price by 17% just to sell the property?
No.
Of course not. I mean, you have a first-class home, don't you?
Yes.
You don't want to sell in a second-class manner.
No.
And you want an agent that's going to fight for you tooth and nail to get you every penny possible, don't you?
Yes.
You know what the great news is?
You're that agent.
You found what you're looking for. Let's go ahead and get started. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I would handle that. Yes.
Aaron, I've listened to your presentation. It's very impressive. You know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
I wanted to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But let me be honest with you.
Sure. I appreciate honesty.
My sister is a real estate agent.
Okay.
And I promised her 99% I'm going to list with her.
Okay.
Because she's my sister.
Which I totally appreciate. And I guess I'm curious. It sounds like, based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, two things are happening. One, and I appreciate your kind words, by the way. It sounds like you're beginning to see why people like you hire me all the time for the job. It seems like you feel comfortable and confident with me that I can help you. Is that accurate?
It doesn't get me over this problem I've got with my sister.
I'm very clear on that. So would you be opposed to a win-win proposition in which your sister can participate in the sale and also you get the service and results that you deserve?
So you're saying we give her a referral fee? Is this what you're saying?
Yeah, so we've helped a lot of families in these dynamics where...
She's not going to like that.
I understand.
Go for my throat if I...
Yeah, and I don't want to get between you and your sister. So I think what's true is you just have a decision that you need to make. I guess I'm wondering previously, how did you pick the previous agent?
It was my sister.
And I really do appreciate your honesty and straightforwardness. So I guess my question to you is, and again, I mean this lovingly, right? I really do.
I don't think we're on a love relationship here, but if you want to use that.
Yeah, well, what I mean is I mean it with the intention of understanding relationship dynamics, because I have a sister and siblings and things of that nature. There is a saying in our culture about mixing business with family, and there's usually a particular reason why. And I guess for you is, which is more important for you at this stage in your life and with this move? Because you were kind enough to share with me that you really need to get out to Arizona. Is that correct? Yeah. And what would happen on the outside chance if 6 months went by again and it didn't sell?
Well, I kind of feel like I'm going to lower the price enough with her to make this happen.
Yeah, which I appreciate. And what happens on the outside chance that that doesn't work? What would that mean for you and your family?
Well, I wouldn't have a fight with my sister, for one thing.
Sure. And how would that affect your life in terms of the move?
Well, if it's a 1 in 10 chance that it doesn't get sold, I'm willing to roll the dice on that.
I appreciate that. And I guess I'm wondering, because you were on the market for 6 months and the marketplace changed dramatically in that 6 months, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And the cost of money doubled.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. If you would have sold it 6 months ago, do you think you would have got more money?
Yes.
Are you okay with losing money?
Sometimes it happens.
I get that. And I guess my question to you is, and this is only something you can answer, which has more value for you in this instance? Making the move, getting as much as you possibly can, preserving the capital and equity that you have, or preserving a relationship?
Well, maybe we just better go with you.
I think it makes the most sense. But do you see what I'm doing there?
I do.
Right? And right off the bat, I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't want to get between you and your sister. And here's my experience. Shitting on people never works. Ever. Just be in a crowd of people and somebody starts to gossip about somebody else, everybody's like, geez, get the fuck away from this person. Right? It's very difficult, but that's what you guys do. Well, how many homes did your sister sell? Well, it was on the market. I sold this amount. Did I do that? And I was willing to share. You guys don't want to share. You're like, fuck that. No referral fee for you. Right? So I was like, would you be opposed if we could create a win-win proposition? When I say, would you be opposed, it's easy for him to say what? No. He wants to say no. So I'm going to let him say no. Would you be opposed if we could come up with a win-win proposition? You're like, no, what would that look like? And then I can explain it to him. But then I had to level with him because that would have gone on in a loop. Right? And I caught on like, okay, if it would have sold 6 months ago, he definitely would have made more money. I was like, does that concern you at all that could happen again? He's like, And I'm like, look, this is only something you can answer, right? And I'm coming from a place of understanding the predicament that you're in and trying to preserve that relationship, and yet at the same time, concerned for finances and actually making the move. Which one has more value for you this time around, to preserve that relationship or to actually get it sold? And that's what brought him to that conclusion. But that's taking all the clothes off. What are we doing? That's that question. It's right down the pipe because that's the actual crux of the situation, right? Not like, well, we can do more marketing and we can do this and we can do that. That's not it. Awesome. So you're only going to get few common objections. And guys, they're not going to school trying to figure out new objections to give you. They're not sitting in classes like this, sellers. It's the same shit all the time. I want to wait. My sister's an agent. Never heard of your company. How much is your commission? What are you going to market the home? Where's your office? It never changes. We just need to take the time to learn the answers. Right? You just got to be prepared to learn. So how many of you guys feel more prepared to go on a listing presentation after this time together? No, that's not acceptable to me. Everybody's hands should be raised.
Why EXP?
That man right there?
I chose Elite Builders because I started coaching with Aaron Novello in 2020.
Aaron Novello being the leader of Elite Builders. It's one of the reasons why I joined. We used to be in the same brokerage before EXP. So when he announced I was making the switch, I was like, okay, there must be something there.
The moment he told me he was switching, I didn't even flinch. For me, it was a no-brainer. We had already built this amazing relationship.
Once I saw the model and the platform, I really couldn't unsee it.
EXP gives us the opportunity of rev share, stocks, and it's not just all what I can sell.
All the coaching, the rev share, the stocks. I'm betting on EXP and cloud-based business. There's so many agents. It's like 2-3 million agents all over the US. I'm in part of an association that has more than 60,000 agents. Being able to join a team that brings productivity, experience to get myself to a highest level and leverage, that's exactly why I chose specifically Elite Builders.
I chose Elite Builders mainly because of the person that Aaron Novello is. Getting in proximity to him would put me in proximity with amazing people throughout my career. And that's no different when we stand around at EXP. The people that he's surrounded with are now the people that I'm surrounded with. They're just really good people.
This is exactly where I need to be. That's exactly who I want to follow, where I want to align myself with. Didn't even let the ink dry.
Before joining EXP, I was doing 50 transactions. In 2020, I did 48, 2021, 52, around there. Then when I joined EXP, I started coaching. I got to build systems that allow me to grow my business for more than 60 transactions. I opened different levels of business. I've grown a team of 35 agents. That's giving me a revenue share of anywhere between $2,000 to $2,500 per month. And I have around $22,000 worth of stock in the company. So I'm part owner of EXP Realty.
The value proposition is just there. The community, the skills, the weekly meetings, the accountability, the family we've built has been so amazing. And I'm just grateful for that opportunity.
Just a massive amount of being uncomfortable and learning, disconnect from like long-held beliefs that I had that weren't necessarily aligned with what I believe now or what I think is right and just or what I want to do with my life. So it's been a lot of being very, very uncomfortable, learning a lot. It's also been sort of extremely rewarding because I feel now that I am more authentically who I am. I'm more comfortable being the person that I truly wanted to be, but I really didn't even know that that person was in there. So it's been a lot of fun.
I was a quarterback in high school, but then after when I got out to varsity, the dude who was the starter, he went on to break Dante Culpepper's records. So he was like him. So I saw that. I'm like, nah, I probably should like do something else. You know what I'm saying? I think I have other skills and abilities. Yeah. Because you wrote a book, which is cool. Mm-hmm. What's like the vision? Like, are you more focused on like units and volume? Are you focused on attraction? Like, what's the?
I'm right now. I'm definitely switching over to attraction.
Why?
Traction, I think more so because of what I've gone through. I want to give it. I want to help others. You know what I mean? Succeed, which is the whole premise behind the book. But also, I spent way too much money on those one size fits all of those magic bullet crap that that plagues our industry. So I'm like, you know what? I want to help people understand that you are the magic. And so you'll read that a lot in the book. But really, I love selling real estate.
You do.
But
How long have you been selling real estate?
for only 4 years.
Okay.
But I actually I really like it. If there's a way that I can scale it to where I don't sell 20 houses a year, 20 plus houses a year to join my team, that's what I'm.
And what do you think the biggest challenges will be for you? Or what currently are the biggest challenges?
Currently, probably limiting beliefs by me.
And specifically, what are the limiting beliefs?
Right now, I think that there's not enough heat. Our population isn't big enough to grow my team bigger.
Where you live?
Where I live.
How many people where you live?
There's only 100,000 people in my city.
Okay.
And that's the biggest city.
Yeah. So is that the limitation, or is it that not enough people know who you are?
Oh, absolutely. Not enough people know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because I remember hearing something that like really changed my thinking, which is that two things. One, known is better than best. The second is if you don't know me, you can't flow me.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who I am, I can't really help you. So what I find is most people like yourself, the issue isn't talent or ability, it's obscurity. People just don't know.
Right.
So then what would be a mechanism to help people to know? One is a book, because I see that as a platform. The problem with books, though, is I have to distribute them. So I could write one, but like how many, I got to get it in people's hands.
Right.
So the question is like, what tools or what resources do you have at your disposal, or what skill would you have to learn to make sure that more people know who you are?
Actually, social media, community events.
Yeah. And is there any limiting beliefs around doing those, or no? Are you doing media?
I am. I'd say not to the level that I want to be.
How many times a day? What platforms?
Posting at least one reel or a static picture a day, but very active in stories.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I have a second account that's called Devontae in the PNW, and I go around to like small mom and pops, give shout outs and like tell people, hey, you got to come here and try, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
That's taken off a little bit in my
And is that on Instagram? Is that on YouTube?
Instagram, but it's bigger on TikTok.
Okay.
So TikTok really likes that.
So a lot of your stuff is short form then?
Yeah.
All right. And any reason you're not doing long form like YouTube?
No, I'm on it.
Yeah, so I think the thing to consider, I heard a quote too that really changed my thinking about this is if you're not a good marketer, you have to become a rock star salesperson. That's a bar. And it's true.
Yeah.
And I'm a recovering rock star salesperson. So I prospected 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. I did 100 deals a year, 10 years in a row, 200 deals a year twice, all just banging. The issue with that is I have to be there. It doesn't scale.
Right.
And 3 years ago, I started to like examine that and say, hey, I want to have a bigger impact, but I want more time, truthfully. It's selfish. My kids are 14 and 11, and I was just missing out on stuff. So I looked at the landscape. I said, what vehicles do I have at my disposal? What resources do I have at my disposal? And I looked at media, and I realized something that like, I don't really understand this. Not the way I know how to sell real estate in high volume. So what I did is I sought out a guide. Do you know who Ryan Pineda is?
Yeah.
Reached out to a buddy of mine who's in a mastermind with him. And I was like, yo, who's the best at media? He's like, there's a bunch of people who have courses and stuff. Nobody makes more money than Ryan. He has 6 businesses, do $1 million a month. His primary client acquisition channel is media. So I reached out to him. I paid him $25,000 to teach me. I would be on calls with him and he was teaching me, but then I could also be on calls with his content creators and my content creators. So we sucked everything out of their heads. But that caused me to go from 2,000 on Instagram to 60,000. It caused me to go from nothing on YouTube to this year in the last 365 days, 2 million views. So if I could give you anything that could be helpful is media, it's volume and frequency, because frequency equals familiarity, and static things are like not that helpful. Video's really where it's at. According to Google, people touch their phones 150 times a day. Check a text message, phone call, calendar. About an hour or two is on platforms. So what would increase the probability that you would see me during that hour or two? Frequency.
Yeah.
So I'm 3 to 4 times a day, 7 days a week, short form. Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. 5 times a week, long form on YouTube. Long form's like an hour. But the way we're getting to that is just documenting what we're doing.
Right.
So like, you know, my videographer's here. We'll take all, like I gave a talk yesterday, a breakout session on media. We'll take that whole thing, put it on YouTube, but then we'll chop it up into shorts, snippets, right? So what I would suggest to you is that I don't think your town's too small. That's a limiting belief. Something to consider is that companies like UFit, those gyms, it's like $10 a month. They need 10,000 people to be profitable. They do that in towns of 50,000.
There's that.
So it's not too small.
Right. Yeah.
The issue is like not enough people know who you are. And the primary mechanism for them to know is where all the attention's at is there. So I think if you are serious about growing, your issue is obscurity. I need to get real serious about media and not dabble. Most people, they dabble.
Yeah.
They're not like, I tell our team all the time, like, I don't play to participate. I play to dominate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We didn't come here just to mess around.
Right.
Like my first goal with attraction was 1,000. But my goal dictates my action. So if I have a goal to get to 50, that's a different action if the goal is to get to 1,000.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you already did the hard part. Like writing a book's difficult. But now it's just about distributing it.
I'm on.
Yeah.
All right.
That's dope. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man.
65% of Americans have all their money tied up into their house. They're refreshing their Redfin every goddamn day. But you think you know better than them. So you go in there and try to authoritatively tell them,
This is what it is.
and if they don't like it, what do? See you later.
I had a home that I did a comp for that was like 630.
Yeah.
They said they had $1 million home.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
Ask questions. So I'll show you how to do it. Instead of trying to be authoritative, ask questions to help people to get self-discovery. So these are some key phrases, and then I'll role play them so you can hear what they sound like. That's an option. Somebody says to you, yeah, I want to list for 700, and it's like 600. Yeah, that's an option. I mean, I want to be clear. You're the boss here. My job is to help you to make a decision. It's never to talk you into doing anything. So we'll go over the information together as a team, and then we can decide what makes sense for you and your family. Fair enough? I guess I'm curious, having seen this information, seen what's active on the market and not selling, seen what's sold and closed most recently, I'm wondering, if you were a buyer and you were going to buy this place all over again, where do you think you would feel comfortable making an offer that you believe would be reflective of fair market value? It forces them to address reality. Guys, I need you to understand something. You guys, we all think as humans, we're good, accurate assessors of reality. We are not. We want to warp reality to shape what we want. And we have all of these psychological quirks. Who knows what the endowment effect is? The endowment effect is because it's mine, I think it's better. You watch this with your clients. When they're selling, they're like, oh yeah, these fucking 20-year-old kitchens are fantastic. They're coming back in style. But then when they become a buyer, they're like, what the fuck are these sellers thinking? You know what resulting is? Because it happened in 1995, it means it's gonna happen today. That's dumb, but our brains do this. Well, when I was selling a home in 2005, my uncle's sister's brother just put a sign out for it and it worked. What causes you to think that that's true today? Well, 6 months ago, my neighbor, yeah, the cost of money was half, right? But staying out of, like, I present playfully and with emotion, but I'm not going to talk to a seller though. You're going to say to me, yeah, I'm thinking 700. Okay. And trust me, I'd love to be your superhero. Put an S on my chest, cape on my back, and get you 700. At the same time, are we in agreement that what something's worth is what somebody's willing to pay? Would you agree with that? Yeah. So let's take a look at this information. I mean, we can see here the last 2 closed sales in your neighborhood was 600. And we can see here on my iPad, if you guys are presenting with pieces of paper, I'm going to run into your listing presentation and smack you in the fucking head. What are you doing, bro? Do you ride a horse to the fucking listing appointment? Like, all of you are tied to your devices all the time. That's how you consume information. Why are you presenting with pieces of paper? They're one-dimensional. You can't zoom in. You can't look at shit. You're going to tell them their kitchen's nicer, but they can't zoom in to actually see that it's nicer. And I bring my iPad and I zoom in on the kitchen. So let's take a look. This one sold at like 600, and we see here. How would you say that kitchen compares to yours?
Well, mine is really maintained well, and it's nice, and it's all white.
Yeah, and I totally appreciate it. I respect that. And we can see here, did they redo this kitchen?
They did.
Yeah, so, and I'm aware you can have your own personal preference. At the same time, you have a remodel kitchen, they have a remodel kitchen. Would you say that that's accurate?
No, mine is not.
Okay, so yours isn't remodeled.
It's well maintained.
I see. I understand. Now, I'm curious, if you were a buyer, not a seller, and because I know those hats are different, and if you were going to buy this place all over again, which kitchen do you think you would have preference? One that was modified or one that's well maintained?
Well, I really like my kitchen. It's my style.
I appreciate that. And what I'm aware of is
You know, sometimes I know I can do this myself, is I assume that everybody's going to like what I like. I guess my question to you is that true for you in your experience in life that everybody likes what you like?
No.
Unfortunately not, right? I mean, I would like it to be that way. What did I just do? Did I make her wrong? Who did I make wrong? I was like, yo, I do this too. I get it. I brought it back to me. And then I'm like, okay, so, and let's take a look at this other one. We see here, this one sold, looks like it's 615. And I want you to see, when did that sell? Say last month.
Last month.
Yeah, and we can see here, let's look at the pictures of this one. How is their kitchen and bathrooms done?
They're updated.
They're updated as well, right? And I guess my question to you is this, because again, I'd love to be your superhero, put an S on my chest, cape on my back, and get you $1 million while we're at it. Because we get compensated more the more we help you sell it for. At the same time, if you were a buyer, not a seller, because I know those hats are different. And if you were going to buy this place all over again, knowing that you're probably going to be modifying kitchens and baths, honestly, where do you think you'd feel comfortable making an offer that you believe would be reflective of fair market value?
I would probably offer 600.
Okay. And don't you think most buyers are pretty similar to you?
Probably.
Okay. So then it sounds like we're in agreement that the marketplace is showing us somewhere around 600 seems to make sense. So one, I didn't make her wrong for her thinking, because some of you guys are like, really, bro? That's what you think? And it's you don't hide it in your face or your body language. You're like, you know what I'm saying? You don't. It just comes out. You're like, whoa, really? Whew. So I stay neutral and I didn't make you wrong. And then we go over it. But then I help you to self-discover by asking you questions. Instead, did I tell you that those kitchens were nicer than yours?
No.
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 Never said that.
Did I say that?
No.
Do you guys say that shit? Yes. All the time. Imagine somebody walked in your house and was like, bro, I got a shirt that's nicer than that. Immediately he'd be like, bro, like, right? But that's what we do.
Yeah.
And then we'll say stupid shit like, well, what specifically causes you to believe that you're, really? Imagine me being like, what specifically caused you to believe that those glasses were cool? You'd be like, bro, I love these glasses. Like, you're an asshole, right? But do we do that to sellers? So then I asked you this question, and there's a lot going on in this question. I was like, so if you were a buyer, not a seller, and you notice what I did with my body, it was intentional. I know those hats are different. What am I asking you to do when I do this as an adult?
To think like a buyer.
To take the hat off. You understood that implicitly without me even speaking those words to you. I know those hats are different. So if you were going to buy this place all over again, knowing that you were probably going to redo, kitchens and baths, honestly is neurolinguistic programming. Everything after the word honestly has to be what? Honest. So now your brain is triggered to be like, I have to be what? Honest. Don't bullshit. Tell me the truth. And you were like, yeah, probably somewhere around 600. Yeah. I said, I'm in agreement with you. It's her idea, not mine. I'm in agreement with you. So it sounds like we're in agreement. The market is showing us somewhere around 600. Who's showing us? What do you guys want to do? I'm showing you. I'm the all omnipotent, omnipresent real estate agent. I know everything. I do 5 deals a year and I know everything. So that's very intentional. So now you're totally primed to answer that accurately. I'm taking off these frames that actually distort reality. Being in the seller perspective distorts the reality because you're going to want to inflate it. So I take that off by saying the hat thing, right? So from there, it comes down to strategy on how we get there. So what I'd like to do now is to go over the pricing strategies you have at your disposal, because I want you to feel comfortable with the one you end up choosing, and whatever you decide, I'm going to support you 100%. Fair enough? Do I sound like I'm on her team? That's why you get all this resistance. And then you walk out, you're like, God, those guys are such assholes. I don't know. I'm like, no, dude, you're presenting it wrong. And when I give you options, how do you feel?
More comfortable.
And in control. But who's actually in control? You ever seen Star Wars where he's like, these are not the drones you're looking for. And then they just go away, right? So now I'm like, okay, so the first option that we have at our disposal is we can position the property a little bit higher than 600. The logic behind that strategy, Rose, is we can always come down, we can't go back up, and the logic is I want to leave room to negotiate. Now, why am I saying that to them? Because they're fucking thinking it.
So that answered my next question.
Right?
So it was like,
'Cause
but I want to list.
you see? So I'm going to address it. And what I'm going to do is like, dude, I want to put it all on the table. Like, here it is, right? I don't want anything like that's left undone or unsaid. And there's not that there's anything wrong with that strategy. There are a few considerations, though, Rose, that I'd like to review with you. So that way you're fully equipped to decide what you feel is best, okay? So the first consideration is that option usually takes longer. Now, I know you shared with me that You really need to be moved to Arizona in the next like 120 days. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what that would mean then is we have to be under contract in the next 30 to 45 because it usually takes 30 to 45 days to close. Have you thought about that?
No.
So if we utilize that strategy of starting higher and coming down, it could end up jeopardizing timing. Now, let me ask you this. What would happen on the outside chance if we were still sitting here 4 or 5 months from now and this home wasn't sold? What would that mean for you and your family?
Oh, I don't think that'll happen. The market's hot and properties are being sold every day.
Yeah, which I appreciate. At the same time, what I am aware of is that, things have changed. So I guess I'm just wondering, just for my own knowledge, what would happen if that did happen for you? What would that mean for you
Be
guys?
in trouble because I need to.
Okay. So now that's something to consider with regards to that strategy. Okay. Now, the second strategy that I've seen sellers just like you deploy in this market is where they see what's reasonable and they, based on comparables like we just did, and they choose to position the property very close to what's sold and closed most recently, or actually a little bit below. Do you know why they would do that?
To get more buyers.
That's right. It creates a lot of urgency. You get a lot of people in. Perhaps we can get more than one offer, force people to compete, and we'll end up coming to the surface as the absolute most that somebody's willing to pay. You have a choice to make, and whatever you decide, I'll support you 100%. One option is we start a little bit higher. Logic being, I could come down, I'll go back up. I want to leave room to negotiate. And in doing so, understand that timing issue and how it could affect that. The second option is we choose an option that homeowners like yourself, I've seen choose frequently with great results, position it very competitively, close to that 600 number, or actually a little bit below, maybe like 590. And in doing so, we can get a lot of people interested, force them to compete. Not only will we end up with the most that somebody's willing to pay, but we'll get the best terms and conditions for you with the best certainty of an offer that's going to get you out to Arizona. Now, either one of those are okay. Based on what you're looking to accomplish and why in the time frame you'd like to make it happen in, what do you think we should do?
I'm ready to sign.
You see how that's completely different than what you're doing. You're making them wrong. You're wanting to argue with them. I know and you don't, wanting to fight with them. You're stupid, I'm smart. And we're completely flipping that around. And I'm couching it in like, what's important to you? So we talked about timing, and then we talked about offers and the certainty of making the move and maybe getting multiple offers. Then, you know what I did? What did I say to her at the end? What do you think we should do? But remember something, whose home is it? Whose equity is it? Whose decision is it? So stop trying to make it yours. Key phrases, this is an option. You're the boss. Whatever you decide, I'll support you 100%. And again, stop trying to lead with authority. Stop trying to be like, I know and you don't, because they have access to all the same information because of the internet. This is more collaborative, right? You're going to share with them information, help them interpret it, help them to make a decision that works for them and their family.
I have a guy who's a mentor in my life. He's an agent. He's doing it for a workhorse. So he did what I did for twice as long. That 150, 200 homes a year, just pounding it out. But he's in his 60s now. It's worth a lot of money. Network.
I'm here with Aaron Novello at EXP Con, where he just got off the stage, rocked the stage, standing ovation. And it's really funny because what he talked about is something that he used to make fun of.
What do you think Instagram is for?
Truthfully, I didn't really understand leverage, and I didn't